Good afternoon. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a great summer. I'd like to welcome on the very first Capra meeting our newly minted Executive Vice Chancellor Vida Rabinovich.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chair.
And I'm glad that I'm joined by our distinguished Chancellor, doing a great work, and the team. On item number 1A, I'd like to move the approval of the minutes. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays, abstentions, no corrections? Okay, good. Item number 1B1, the policy calendar item, Baruch College, MIA in International Affairs.
Thank you, Chair Chen, and I'm pleased to welcome the new members of the committee as a new member and certainly member of the board. Thank you, Dr. O'Donnell Tormey.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to introduce the new trustee, and the student
and
trustee as well.
That's right.
From it shows you what a Labor Day weekend would do to you. Welcome, Jill, and welcome. I'm going to butcher your name.
Okay, Chica. That's great. Thank you. I am pleased to present the MIA, the Masters in International Affairs by Baruch College. Baruch's proposed MIA in International Affairs will offer students 4 complementary concentrations: international non-governmental organizations, Western Hemisphere affairs, trade policy, global economic governance, and a 4th that can be tailored to a student's particular interests. The program will be housed in the School of Public Affairs, and in addition to capitalizing on the research and teaching strengths of that faculty in areas such as international nonprofits, international public administration, and diplomacy, the program will also benefit from the talents of the faculty in the Zicklin School of Business and the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences, who will teach courses relevant to the program as well. A market research firm was hired to conduct a feasibility study for Baruch, and their research found that prospective student and employer demand for the Master's in International Affairs degree is strong. The college's price point, even with the small differential tuition the college will be seeking, its location and the possibility of part-time study, as well as hybrid classes, are a major selling point. They also reinforced what we know, that Baruch has strong name recognition. A review of relevant job announcements for which graduates of this program would be suited found opportunities at such institutions as the United Nations, the World Bank, the Asia Society, the U.S. Department of State, the World Economic Forum, and the International Food Policy Research Institute. Are there any questions or concerns regarding the proposal for an MIA in International Affairs? I note that we have with us Provost Dave Christie, as well as the Dean of the school and the author of the program, so we thank you all.
What is Baruch's estimate of the number of students that will sign up for this program? How quickly will it get momentum?
Come up.
Yes, please come up. Come to the table.
Could you come to the table, please?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm David Birdsell. I'm Dean of the School of Public Affairs. We are expecting, after 3 years, a steady state enrollment of approximately 160 to 180 students. We believe that is a relatively modest expectation given the success that we've had with both the marketing program and in reaching out with the MPA degree prior.
Well, that's a good number of students.
Yes, it is. It is an impressive number. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello?
No.
No. Sounds like a very worthwhile program. If there are no other questions, let's call the question.
I'll move.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Okay, item number 1B2, Brooklyn College, MFA in Sonic Arts, MFA in Media Scoring.
This fall, Brooklyn College launched an MFA in Cinema Arts and an MA in Cinema Studies at their new state-of-the-art facilities, Steiner Studios, located near the college in Brooklyn. The proposed MFA in Sonic Arts and Media Scoring to be offered by the Conservatory of Music at Brooklyn will complement these existing programs in the new Fierstein School of Cinema Studies, allowing the college to offer a wider range of professional graduate programs directly related to employment in various aspects and venues within the entertainment industry. The program in Sonic Arts will provide professional training and advanced knowledge in the production of artistic and commercial sound for positions that have been created in the commercial media world due to innovations brought about by the internet, MP3 files, and the iPod. Sound design, audio design, and digital media design are all professional fields that will be looking to hire graduates of this MFA degree. The MFA in media scoring will admit trained musical composers interested in pursuing a career in music scoring or a related field. New York City is one of the world's major centers of artistic and commercial audiovisual production and employment prospects for composers proficient in the techniques of media score, and the techniques of media scoring are rising. And I note that the provost of Brooklyn College is here. And is your dean with you, Provost Tramontano? Yes, okay, and the dean of the cinema school is also here.
Sounds very, very exciting.
May I say something about this? I'm wondering if there is a possibility of kind of communication with the Dominican Republic. They have a very extensive, successful media cinema program in the Dominican Republic, and it's been producing a lot of movies. Very international actors and artists are going there, and I'm wondering if there is a possibility of relating, or at least communicating or inviting them, doing something with this program in the Dominican Republic.
Good afternoon. I'm Maria Anconelli. I'm the Dean of the School of Visual Media and Performing Arts at Brooklyn College. Yes, we're very interested in actually reaching out to international colleagues and cohorts. We have been exploring possibilities in the Caribbean, not only in the Dominican Republic, but also in Cuba. We've been looking at partners in Asia. So we're looking to start this locally and then expand it globally.
Or have you been contacted the Dominican Republic?
No, we're just starting actually the outreach. We wait until the approval and then we'll start that
I would
process.
like to know about that.
Okay.
I'm very, very interested in this kind of program there.
Okay.
'Cause we really have something to offer there.
So Dean, you will report back to us about your contacts
will.
in the Caribbean and elsewhere globally.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, may I have a motion?
I so move.
Okay. Seconded. Student trustee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes, abstentions. Okay, now number 2 is informational items.
Important one.
Yeah. Do you want the chancellor to start?
Yes.
Did you just ask my vice chancellor if she wants to? Thank you for giving her that latitude. Yeah, I'm going to kick this discussion off. I asked the provost and the vice chancellor for budget and finance to head up a process on performance funding. As you know, this was initiated at the request of the governor in the last legislative session. $12 million for CUNY, 18 for SUNY. As you'll hear during this presentation, we increased the amount of funding provided because it was just for the senior colleges. Now it'll be for the community colleges as well. And while this wasn't our idea, we think it's a good idea. And we think it's a terrific opportunity for us now. It builds on our success with our performance management system, which I think gives us a nice head start on this. The 6 areas identified by the legislation are all areas that are central to CUNY's mission. I think that in the future, if we demonstrate success with this, there'll be additional opportunities for us. It's not a secret that states across the country are continuing to invest in performance funding as opposed to enrollment-based or other kinds of funding. So I think this is a terrific opportunity for us. Gives us an opportunity to encourage innovation at the campus level and to invest in priorities that the campuses probably already have well in mind with regard to these 6 areas. It's one-time funding, and so it's in our interest, I believe, to have a process that moves quickly and that makes these investments at the campuses soon so that we can demonstrate some success. The board gets a couple of bites at the apple on this. Today is for information. We want to share this concept with you. In October, we'll bring it to the board for approving the plan, and then the final allocations would also come to the board as well. So with that, I turn it over to Matt and Vita.
Matt, would you like to
Sure,
start?
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. You have a presentation in front of you on the performance improvement plan, so we're gonna go through those slides. And the first slide on the performance improvement plans, as the Chancellor mentioned, this is a governor's initiative. It is an initiative that he included in his executive budget proposal this past January. And the state legislature did include this funding in the final state enacted budget. There was $18 million that was appropriated for SUNY and $12 million for CUNY. And you can see on the slide there, that last bullet, the actual enacted legislative language. And so the key there is about halfway down, a little more than halfway down. The criteria that the state would like CUNY and SUNY to use in putting these plans together shall include but not be limited to improving access, completion, academic and post-graduation success and services, research and community engagement. And so as the Chancellor mentioned, if we jump to the next slide, the overview, we are going to leverage other sources of funds so that we can have a more robust program. We have $12 million for the senior colleges from the state enacted budget. And we have set aside $6 million from the community college allocation so that the community colleges can participate in the performance improvement initiative as well. We also have $1 million in external grant funding that we've identified, and we're going to set aside, we have set aside $1 million in centrally managed accounts so that we'll have $20 million in total for the performance improvement initiative. So the senior colleges, community colleges will all participate in this plan. I'm going to turn it over to our Provost Rabinowitz now to go through the areas that we're targeting and the RFP process that we're planning.
The point I would like to make regarding priority areas is the state's 6 priorities: access, improving access of New York City students and students around the state and in the region to an education at CUNY is a great value of our university as well as it is of the state's. And one of the major initiatives that I'll be launching this year is an initiative to improve math remediation and remedial outcomes that deny so many of our students a college education and a college degree. Similarly, completion. It's hard to imagine a more important goal than seeing to it that our students take their degrees at every level, associates, bachelors, and if they wish, masters and doctoral. So speeding progress toward degrees, providing degrees of worth and value, and seeing that our students get the support they need. These are, again, completely aligned with our own values and mission. Student success, meaning student academic success, including postgraduate outcomes. CUNY has only begun to take postgraduate outcomes seriously and systematically, but we are doing it, and And the governor's priorities help us to focus on these outcomes. Research excellence. This is a value of our university, and you will see priority areas, especially to support research focused on the 21st century urban environment, regional engagement, engagement with the workforce, engagement with our community are the values and goals there, and finally experiential learning. The governor has mandated that SUNY and CUNY look to provide authentic experiential learning experiences within and beyond the classroom for every student in every academic program. And that, again, is aligned with our own mission and goals. So the New York State priority areas are CUNY's priorities. And to make that point manifest, on the next page you'll see the state priorities aligned with PMP goals, except for one area. Faculty satisfaction, I am sorry to say to the faculty in this room, that it does not map on, that PMP goal, that CUNY goal does not map on so beautifully to the state's priorities, but otherwise we are closely aligned.
But it's required for each of the 6 state
Yes.
priorities.
Yes.
That's right.
And since CUNY has faculty satisfaction as
Yes.
one of its goals, that's what matters.
I appreciate that.
Local
That's
politics, most important.
right. So in thinking about our own performance application, we wanted to align our priorities with the states, of course, but make sure that our priorities were aligned with our own master plan. The master plan governing the 2012 to 2016 period, and even more importantly, our new emerging strategic framework, in which we express interest in goals like expanding online education, expanding the use of digital technology to improve instruction and academic support, strengthening global perspectives and global practice, growing the research enterprise, especially as it relates to a 21st century urban environment, promoting access and college readiness, improving student success and completion. So we are confident that this performance incentive funding will help us do what we're already intending to do, but will hold us accountable. So I'd like to talk with you very briefly about our plans to produce quickly a request for proposals going to all of our colleges, in which we invite their proposals, either individually or in concert with other colleges or other organizations or communities. We will develop criteria for eligibility and criteria for evaluation. We will express minimum requirements for consideration of a proposal and most desired characteristics, and we will ask every proposal to have quantitative performance metrics associated with it. But as you can imagine, colleagues, we are on a tight timeline. This money is available this year. We are already in September. So it is September 9th, as you see in the proposed timeline. This is the third of 3 major presentations to CUNY communities. We spoke just an hour ago to Fiscal Affairs and this morning to the Council of Presidents. We're hoping to launch this today because we have no time to waste. We hope to get an approval for our resolution and our RFP by the Board of Trustees on October 1st. We will release the request for proposals to the colleges formally on October 1st, though again, we're going to start, and certainly Trustee Schmidt asked me about this in an earlier meeting. Are you not starting today? We're starting today to work with colleges to craft strong proposals. The deadline for responses to the RFP will be October 16th, but we will work with colleges between the 16th and the 23rd to get final proposals that pass muster. We will review them and get back to the colleges between October 23rd and November 6th, and we will present to the Board of Trustees on 23rd our final recommendations for funding. So that is our timeline, and we hope to get the money to the colleges as soon thereafter as possible so that it can start making a difference this year. Matt, do you want to say anything more about the kinds of ways that the colleges can use the money that they receive? Because obviously it will be, as the Chancellor said, it will be a one-time allocation. It will not be baselined, therefore hiring full-time faculty or permanent employees is not a wise use of this money. But is there anything more that you want to add?
No, I think that's the key. That's one of the key elements of this is that it's not ongoing funding, but we still think that even though it is one time, that colleges will have opportunities to invest in things like faculty release time, things like contracting out with folks to help drive key initiatives that they are planning on their campus, and to provide counsel on those type of things. So we have an aggressive time frame, as Executive Vice Chancellor Rabinowitz said. The plan is that on October 1st, the full board would vote on the plan of how we're going to implement the process and the whole RFP agenda. And then on November 23rd, once we have the plans back from the colleges, that the board would vote on the distribution of the funds to the individual colleges.
I understand that the money will be only for 1 year,
Correct.
so the program will die in the second year.
Well, as we said earlier, it was a governor's initiative that was put into the budget this year. We're not certain of if it'll be included next year or not. So this year we're planning only on one-time funds, but the governor's executive budget for fiscal 17 will be presented in January, and perhaps there'll be additional funding for performance incentive, but at this point, this 12 million is only for this year.
I don't think it would necessarily die, though. I mean, I think it's a good point, but you couldn't invest in ongoing costs with no expectation of continued funding, but you could invest in preliminary costs for program development or
Yes.
something else that would have a one-time investment involved with it.
But not to hire a teacher.
No.
Correct.
No, that's right, that's right.
Suppose you wanted to do something like a one-stop shop for registration, financial aid, et cetera.
Right.
You didn't have such a facility. It would seem to me you'd have to do perhaps a little bit of realignment of a physical space.
Mm-hmm.
Would that money be eligible for that, or do you fall into some sort of capital versus operating money trap? Or
Yeah, I think if, things like that where it's not a large investment in terms of
right.
reimagining physical space, that could be used in operating funds, and I think it certainly could be tied to increased retention rates and
Right.
access by having enhanced services to students, and so yeah, I think those type of things could be part
I
of
mean,
it.
one of the things that you experience over time is depending on how tightly people mess with not mess, that's the wrong word, the constraints under which these programs sometimes evolve preclude lots of interesting things from happening, even in a short time frame, when in fact they could be done. So I'm assuming there's going to be some attempt to move things through in a reasonably quick way, or else we're going to be sitting here in July and the money's going to be gone.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not that on November 23rd, if the board approves it, that we're going to give the money out to the colleges and say, good luck. The colleges will need the continued support of the system office to make sure that that any contracts or any dollars that they need to be put in place, that we help them accelerate the process. Obviously, staying within state procurement rules. But yes, we certainly need to provide that continued support throughout the
So
whole
no
fiscal
new
year.
leases, for example. It's just,
Right, we'll continue to work with the colleges throughout the year.
It will, I hope, encourage innovation and entrepreneurial behavior by the colleges. And so, yes, we won't have to tighten down the requirements to the point that they can't operate. At the end of the day, though, there'll be accountability for how they spent the funds and what results were produced.
but my understanding is that July 1, the money's gone. It's got to be
For the
spent
most
by,
part.
it's got to be spent by July 1.
For the most part.
Right, certainly that has to be in the plan.
Right.
That's right.
And when does the for the metrics, the measurement of the success of the program, when is that
Right.
supposed to be looked at?
Actually, that's a wonderful question, because obviously you can't expect to achieve all of your lofty goals, especially retention, graduation, the kinds of things we're talking about, in 6 months or 8 months. What we would need to do, given the fact that our money is coming late, is develop a kind of formative evaluation, so that we won't have final things, but have benchmarks about whether certain things have been put in place, and whether programs or individuals are meeting their marks. Understanding, and in the legislation, you see appreciation that the governor understands some outcomes take months and years to achieve. But what we will have to do is measure those outcomes, because as the chancellor said, there's some indication the governor will again have performance funds. They won't be a continuation of these 12 million, but the state will be looking to see how well we spent this money.
And that money can be allocated to future years, if this money ends July 1, but your outcomes are going beyond that. Can the money that's allocated now be used in future years? No.
No.
So it has to
It
all
really
be
has to be
spent.
spent.
By the end of the.
So you
fiscal
have
year.
no funding to really do the follow-up
Right.
measurements.
Your obligation and ours, therefore, is to develop a plan and then make investments in initiatives that we believe will improve performance in these 6 areas. We won't have the results, at the time the money's spent, but I think we have to come up with a process that you believe in, and then you adopt it, that will allow us to make investments designed to improve performance.
Well, I think this timeline is pretty difficult.
Yes.
I mean, November 23rd, the fall semester is practically over. You've got exams. I mean, everybody's preoccupied. My suggestion is that you not let the schedule of regular board meetings, October 1 to November 23rd, that we can be more flexible in that. If you get proposals that you think are ready for board approval. I mean, you may get 2 or 3 responses from the colleges on October 16th that need very little further tweaking, that are meritorious proposals that you would, that there are almost no circumstances that they wouldn't be proposals that would ultimately be part of the board package. And I think if once you have 2 or 3 of those in hand, and it could be even in October, that you should use the executive committee of the board. We can make sure that all board members are invited to that executive committee meeting. I think they are regularly anyway.
Yes, that's right.
So, we'd have the executive committee and any other board members who care to look in. And the executive committee can then make a final decision for the board, and then you're not stuck having to wait till November 23rd. So you could have a kind of a series of board presentations. You could have a couple of executive committee meetings before the 23rd and get some of these proposals out in the hands of the colleges before November 1st so that they can get started working on them. Because November 23rd, you got the holidays, you've got exams, I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff. And the sooner we could get these proposals moving, at least some of them, the sooner we may be able to show the governor's office that we have some evidence of movement, even during the current academic year, that suggests that we are improving some of those six.
We got to be careful about evidence, though. I mean, there's not a heck of a lot. If I could move the graduation needle at a college for $12 million, we would have moved the graduation needle at every one of our colleges.
No, but what you can do is have guidelines that are sort of underneath that.
Yeah,
that
like
value,
students served,
like credit retention, or
right.
something that.
That's right.
But I'd like us to be, I completely agree, but I'd like us to be mindful of the fact that some colleges are better resourced than others and have the wherewithal to come up with proposals, very, very complete proposals, very quickly because of the comparatively large number of staff and faculty compared to others. And that if we have a rolling deadline, and since this is a competition and a very, very small amount of money, I mean, let's be honest, $12 million is very little money. We don't want to have a situation where the better funded colleges which are already more advantaged, have the advantage to get their proposals in first, get the funding first, and then the other colleges are coming up slowly and the money's gone. If we're going to move up the deadlines, let's move up the deadlines for everyone and provide help for colleges so that the colleges all have more time to implement. And I think you're absolutely right, Chairman Schmidt, that the executive committee's structure, that's what it was created for a few years ago.
We discussed this point, Karen, in the Fiscal Affairs Committee. And one of the things that we were told was, I mean, the central administration is starting to work with the colleges right now on developing these proposals. They are going to provide some expertise and manpower to some of the community colleges, for example, may need a lot of help. We're also encouraging different colleges to form consortia so that we could get a weaker college with a stronger college. And I think we'll just have to be careful if we do some approvals, seriatim, that we leave enough flexibility that there's still a chance for the slower moving, but very meritorious proposals to be approved in the end. But I just want to say that I think the trustees are prepared to be flexible by using the executive committee.
Great suggestion. I'm glad you made it.
So I have a question, if I may. The resolution by the board, will that include as you envision it now, a description of the process for reviewing and approving or recommending proposals? Will that include faculty recommended by, let's say, the University Faculty Senate? I mean, have you thought about this yet?
I will answer your first question, Karen, and then I will also get to your second. We did envision the first approval, the October 1st approval, to be an approval of the process that we were going to follow, which would include review committees and the like. And whereas the second approval, and I'm thrilled with Chairman Schmidt's new proposal, but we envision the second approval on November 23rd to be of what proposals were being funded in the allocations.
There's only one requirement in the legislation, it is the chancellor recommended to the board. And so as of today, I would say that'll be a pretty certain part of the process.
Well, I think Karen is right that it's important to get faculty and it's important to get student reaction, and that's a way of improving the quality of the proposals, is to let some faculty look at it. I don't know how you want to decide which faculty or what that process is, but there needs to be that review possibility, and the Student Senate needs to probably have a role in that as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
We clearly need a process that has integrity and transparency.
Okay. Part two?
Yes. Part two. Actually, I
Do you have
think
any other report?
Earlier today, we presented to the Council of Presidents the fiscal year 2017 proposal, but the academic content of that proposal did not match the issue of performance funding. So I think we are comfortable with the performance funding discussion.
We still haven't decided which board committee will ultimately be the pass-through, because we had a presentation with fiscal affairs just before this meeting. And I think the chancellor needs to decide, is it, as a formal matter, is it going to be fiscal affairs or this committee or both that have to approve, that have a role in the process of approval?
Given the short timeline, I think it's been beneficial for us today to have this discussion with both committees. And
You may just want to pick one.
yeah,
You know, I mean, they
But if
both
we're gonna
have
do the
some
executive
trustees.
committee,
Well, the executive,
you just said
Well, the executive committee would be the final,
Yeah, but it has to
would
go
be the
to
final
board.
approval.
yeah, but then.
if we used it, yeah.
Yeah, but if we're gonna go back, then we gotta worry about the timeline for the committee meetings, which could then impede the I mean, I thought your idea was,
Yeah, well, I think we need to, whichever committee you pick, and I would just pick one as the formal approval point. That committee needs to have some flexibility too about meeting or getting together by phone if that's legal, I don't know. I just think we need to be very flexible to give the campuses as much time as we possibly can to actually implement
Right.
these proposals.
Right.
Point well taken. Okay. Okay. Motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Thank you very much.